Hey guys, I'm Abby Sharp. Welcome to Abby's Kitchen. Today's What I Eat in a Day YouTube review is sponsored by Audible, and we're going to be looking at John Glaude from the YouTube channel Obese to Beast. Now, before we dive in, I want to tell you about this awesome app called Audible that I've been using before bed and on my daily walks. Now, Audible is the leading provider for spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, where you can download your favorite books and listen anytime, anywhere. I've been listening to Gary Bishop's Go Un-F Yourself, which has really helped me get through some of these really uncertain times we're in. But it's all about getting rid of the negative self-talk in your life that's holding you back from truly thriving. And it does so with some really great sassy language that I can definitely get on board with. Anyway, the way it works is that every month you get 1 credit for any title, plus 2 Audible originals from the monthly selections and access to daily news and meditations. So key. You also get to keep your audiobook library even if you cancel, and you can participate in audiobook exchanges. So if you're looking for some affordable entertainment, you can check out audible.com/AbbySharp or text Abby Sharp to 500-500 and start listening with an exclusive 30-day free trial, 1 free audiobook, and 2 Audible originals for free. Okay, so let's talk about our friend John. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Obese to Beast's channel, he's a fitness and wellness YouTuber who's gained popularity by documenting his extreme weight loss through CrossFit training and following what he has coined as the common sense diet, which according to him means he's eliminated all fast food, soda, and snacking from his diet. Now, before we get too far into this, I want to start with my general disclaimer that the information that you may see in this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only, and you should always seek out the help of a registered dietitian or medical professional for your unique case. All right, let's meet John.
So I just kind of wanted to share what I've been eating in a day, and I want to make it very clear from the start of this video, this is me just sharing what I'm eating. I am not at all trying to say you need to eat what I eat at all. Most people probably wouldn't want to eat what I eat because it's very boring. But I wanted to share that because I want people to see that, like for me, when I think about, eating and the way that I think about food is I want my food to be 1, very simple, and 2, something that I can sustain for a long time, right? So it's nothing super fancy.
Okay, so if you've been watching me for a while, you've probably already picked up on the fact that I always appreciate a good disclaimer from these YouTube videos. So thank you to John for prefacing this video with a disclaimer and stating that the purpose is really to share what he eats as a kind of FYI. I also love that he says his eating is really rooted in simplicity and sustainability, which is definitely something I can totally agree with. I mean, I think that the easier you can make healthy eating, the more likely you are to stick to it. Let's see what else he has to say.
Now, I do want to say before I show you everything that I got, I was actually talking about this recently on my podcast, that I understand that everything that you're going to see is not some like super healthy, like, whoa, that's such a, can't believe how healthy that he eats and stuff like that. That's not at all what I'm trying to show you. I actually think that my diet is actually pretty normal. I think that it's pretty sustainable for pretty much anybody. So again, I'm not saying that this is what you should be eating, but I understand it's not the pinnacle of health and fitness, but it works really well for me. And coming from someone that had a little bit of disordered eating, obviously through food addiction, then binge eating, and then struggling with a little bit of orthorexia, like I don't feel like I need to eat perfectly healthy to still be able to chase my goals.
Okay, so in this other video on his grocery haul, I love that John talks about how this diet is normal and balanced and not just like, whoa, super healthy. He mentions that he has a history of food addiction and binge eating and orthorexia, and is now in a place where his focus is not necessarily on eating perfectly healthy, but rather to eat a diet that is normal and sustainable for him while still making progress in the gym and reaching his goals. I am very relieved to hear this coming from John, as research has shown that rates of disordered eating are very common amongst athletes in weight class sports. So you can have health goals, even physique goals, without letting them run your life. Okay, now let's get into the diet and look at day 1. Okay, so I can definitely see where John gets his Beast nickname. This definitely looks like a tough workout. So let's see what he's gonna eat.
It's about 10:30. I'm about to have my first, I wouldn't really call this a meal, but my first thing of the day. I've really been liking these Cliff Builders bars. I'm not sponsored or anything like that, but I like them because there's no whey protein in them, but they have relatively okay macros. So we are back home now. It is like 1 o'clock. Normally I don't eat this late. Usually I don't wait this long to eat my first meal, but because of the couple things that came up, I just decided to push the food back a little bit. So this is what I've been having for my first meal for the past couple weeks now that it's hotter. It's been like a chicken salad, a regular salad, and then like a fruit, so normally like an apple. So let me show you guys. So I'll be the first to say that this is far from an impressive meal. So we got the apple, we got the sandwich with the chicken salad in it, and then just the rest of the chicken salad in there. And then I have half of that salad in this Tupperware.
So it looks like John is already having a busy day and it's 10:30, but I am happy to see that he still has time to sneak some nutrition in for post-workout recovery. Now, an ideal post-workout recovery snack would include a combination of protein and carbohydrates to help rebuild muscle and replenish energy stores. Though the Cliff Builders protein bars that John eats after his workout does have protein and carbohydrate, considering the intensity of his workout, he may want to ideally aim for around 1 gram of protein for every 3 to 4 grams of carbohydrates. Like he mentions, the Cliff Builders bar provides about 20 grams of protein and 30 grams of carbs. So it is a pretty good choice in the grand scheme of things, but he could definitely easily optimize it with like a piece of fruit, like an apple or a banana. As for his lunch, I guess we'll call it, or I don't know, it's the first meal of his day. I love that we're keeping it real here to say that most people, even YouTubers, don't necessarily make beautifully styled lunches every single day and eat them on wooden photography boards. This is real life and it looks pretty good to me. I actually love that particular bagged salad myself with the poppy seed dressing for days that I'm in a pinch. But we've got some protein from the chicken, carbs from the apple and dried fruit, fat from the dressing and the seeds, some nice dark greens from the kale slaw. It's good stuff. He also mentions that even though his meal is not impressive, it's something that he genuinely, truly enjoys eating. Honestly, I think that the simplest, less impressive meals actually tend to be the most satisfying anyways. And at the end of the day, if you enjoy what you're eating, that is all that really matters to me. Let's look at day 2.
See? We got it right here. So we have 3 whole eggs, 3 egg whites, and then we also have bell pepper and spinach on that. We have a bunch of mixed berries, about 300 grams of berries. We have strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, and blueberries in this. Then we have 2 pieces of bread with peanut butter on it. The reason that I do the peanut butter on the bread is because I do the 3 eggs, and that's a little bit of fat. It's not too much, but I definitely wanted to have more fat, so I add the peanut butter. I've really been liking this meal, or like trying something different, because 1, I'm trying to add more like fruits and vegetables all throughout the day, just because it's just something personally that I've been wanting to do. And 2, it's less of like just the straight carbs that I was getting from the oatmeal, because the oatmeal that I would eat in the morning normally was like 120 grams of oats. So that's quite a bit of carbs, plus I would put some sort of like bar, normally crumble that up in there. So that meal would always end up being probably my biggest meal of the day at about 1,000 to 1,200 calories. And this is a little bit less calories, and I don't feel as sluggish. Now, I don't know if I'll never go back to eating oats in the morning, but this has been a nice change, and it's really good.
Okay, so it is great to see that John is really listening to his body and trying something new for breakfast by switching up his protein with the eggs instead of having oats, and adding in some more fruits and veggies to his diet. I think we're all susceptible to following into kind of breakfast ruts, and I think it's really common for people in the fitness community to just become accustomed to eating the exact same meal every single morning. I get that it's definitely easier because you don't have to think about calculating the macros, as I can see he definitely has done with this. But I would definitely try to encourage John to have maybe like 2 or 3 different meals that he rotates just to get some greater variety of nutrition into his day. Having said that, as far as balance goes, this looks really great to me for breakfast. I love that we've got protein from the eggs, we've got fat from the nut butter and yolks, carbs from the fruit and the bread, plus there's some extra veggies snuck in there. Looks really satisfying and probably a better choice after a big workout compared to what he described having before, which was just oats with a little bit of a bar on top. The extra fat in there may slow down carbohydrate and protein absorption a little bit, but if it's working for John, it's working for me because I just love how balanced it is in general. Let's see what else he has.
So I am going to be eating this Cliff Builders bar right here. I really like these. You guys know I don't do dairy, messes with my stomach, gives me mad acne. But these are nice. They get a good amount of calories in because, again, for me, I'm not trying to lose weight or anything like that.
Okay, so we just found out that John doesn't consume dairy because he says it causes some digestive discomfort and acne. So let's just unpack that for a quick second. Research has shown that dairy can cause breakouts in some people, especially those with more acne-prone skin. It also sounds like John may or may not be lactose intolerant. If it's causing some serious stomach upset, or at the very least, he's finding whey to cause bloating, which is not uncommon. Research has shown that some people report difficulty digesting whey protein and experience digestive symptoms like bloating, gas, stomach cramps, and diarrhea. These digestive symptoms are usually related to lactose intolerance, as lactose is the main carbohydrate in whey protein. So for people who experience lactose intolerance and are looking for an appropriate protein powder, whey protein isolate would be a more appropriate option versus whey protein concentrate, as the isolate has a smaller amount of lactose. Other non-dairy protein powder options include soy, pea, rice, or hemp protein. So if you're also finding yourself bloated after whey, maybe experiment with some other proteins to find the best one for you. On another note, it's also really refreshing to see somebody in the weight loss community look at the calories on the nutrition labels to ensure that they're getting enough calories versus looking for a lower amount. Although John is known for his extreme weight loss, I get the impression that his goals are now to really build and maintain muscle mass while maintaining a sustainable, balanced diet. And he knows that any extreme caloric restriction isn't going to help him out there. Let's take a look at meal 2.
We got some overnight oats that I made last night. We have 120 grams of oats. We have a serving of this Skippy peanut butter. I have some sweetener. I like to use Sweet and Low. Also, we have this new Ghost protein. This is the vegan pancake batter. I went to GNC and bought this. And the last thing I do is I crunch up one of these little nut bars and I put this in the oats.
Okay, so again, we have a super simple meal here with the overnight oats, which is admittedly one of my favorite no-fuss meals of all time. I love that we have some healthy complex carbohydrates from the oats, tons of protein with the protein powder, and healthy fats from the peanut butter and crushed nut bar on top. I mean, I would love a little veg in there, but that would probably be kind of strange in oats. And he did have a salad this day for the first meal, proving that breakfast does not have to mean cereal and lunch does not need to mean salad. There is no nutrition rule book that says your body needs to necessarily get these stereotypical meals in a particular order. So I love that John is switching things up. Let's take a look at day 2's second meal.
So for the macros, so for one serving, it's 60 calories, 1 fat, 3 carbs, and 8 grams of protein. So we're gonna be adding 16 grams of protein because I'm gonna do 2 servings in this. We have 2 little pieces of toast with some berries on it, and then I just threw some berries in the rest of the whatever protein pudding, I guess if you want to call it. So this will be a fun meal. I mean, honestly, this is not something that I eat all of the time. This was actually my first time like mixing the powder with this exact pudding. So we'll see how it tastes. I guess I'll do a little live taste test. I haven't done that in forever.
Okay, so with this meal, John is getting ready for his second workout of the day, and he's created his protein pudding concoction with some dairy-free yogurt and protein cookie butter, and then threw it on some toast. This guy gets some serious creativity points right here because of this. I can only imagine how delicious that tastes. But I also love putting yogurt on toast instead of like cream cheese, and I often mix a little powdered peanut butter in mine. So I guess it's basically like the same idea, and I love it. Also though, cookie butter protein, yes please. So I love that he is staying true to his mandate of adding more fruit to his diet by topping it off with berries. So kudos to you, John. It also makes sense that he would want to limit his fat intake prior to a workout and focus more on protein and carbs, as fat will slow down the rate of digestion, which may leave him feeling a little bit sluggish and bloated before his workout. I also want to quickly address the fact that I see him weighing and measuring his food a lot. First of all, I want to acknowledge how common and normalized this behavior is in the fitness community, as a lot of fitness enthusiasts may aim for very specific macronutrient ranges. But considering John's orthorexic past, I do wonder if measuring and weighing his food is at all triggering to him, as this may perpetuate disordered thoughts and behaviors. It may not be an issue for him anymore, but I'm just flagging this because it can be hard for a lot of people to just turn off those thoughts. Let's take a look at how his afternoon looks before getting into meal 3.
It's like 4:30 now, and I'm getting ready to go to the gym for workout number 2. This is going to be more my like bodybuilding focused workout. So today we have a push workout, so it's going to be mainly chest and shoulders. And I'm actually about to head out again and go on a walk. I've been trying to add in a walk.
Okay, so far John had a pretty hardcore workout this morning. Then he had a second workout at 4:30 and immediately after went on a long walk. Now, I wish I had that kind of time in my day. That is kind of my dream. I mean, maybe I'm not doing anything strenuous like that, but I would also love to do like a little weights in the morning, Pilates in the afternoon, nice little walk with friends when, of course, social distancing becomes a thing of the past. But with a busy toddler, a busy business, and another baby on the way, that's gonna have to wait until like retirement for me. But I mean, kudos to him. This is clearly a huge priority for him in his life, and I mean, what a blessing. Now, going by his timestamps, it's been about 4.5 hours since his last meal, and ideally you probably would want to space your meals and snacks around 2 to 3 hours apart to keep your blood sugar levels balanced and to ensure that you're getting enough energy throughout the day, especially for that level of activity. But for someone like John, who is really physically active, it's ideal to eat shortly after working out. Like we talked about before, that combination of carbs and protein. And actually, if we're getting technical, some would suggest around 3 times as many carbs as protein. But there is no fuel between his afternoon workout and his walk, and nothing going in for at least like 3.5 hours after the gym, which is less than ideal. Honestly, it really wouldn't be a big deal for like a really recreational gym goer, but because this is clearly really important to him, I would think he would want to optimize that time he's spending in the gym. So let's see what kind of impact this has on his dinner.
And I'm about to make dinner, but I got kind of hungry, so I'm gonna eat another apple, and then I'm gonna finish off that salad that I made earlier in the day, and then I'm going to make dinner. Dinner is made, as you guys saw, so it's just stir fry. We got like 200 grams of rice in there as well. It's just the Uncle Ben's. It's super easy. It's pretty good. It's not bad. I normally just use the orange chicken sauce that Panda Express makes, but it's kind of nice to change it up a little bit. So this is dinner. I'm very excited to eat this.
Okay, so I'm not entirely surprised that John is too famished to just go in and cook his dinner before needing to eat his leftovers and the apple from earlier on in the day. I mean, I imagine he must be like hangry at this point. I know I definitely would be after working out and then walking, especially since it's been like 5.5 hours since he ate and he's done a gym workout and cardio after that. His blood sugar levels are likely pretty low at this point, not only because he waited so long between meals, but also because he expended so much energy within this period of time through intense physical activity. Again, John could have easily curbed this by having like a snack shortly after his second workout, something like a protein bar or like a little protein smoothie, a piece of toast with tuna, something like that. I mean, there are lots of really fast, easy options that he could have even taken a smoothie with him on the walk. As for his dinner, John is nothing if not consistent. Again, we are seeing a really super simple, pretty balanced, nutrient-dense meal. He's made things really quick and easy by using Uncle Ben's microwavable rice, as well as using pre-cut frozen vegetables and what looks like pre-cooked frozen chicken slices as well that's already been kind of pre-measured out. Though John's meal is balanced with protein, carbs, and veggies, I would have liked to see some healthy fats in there to really boost up the nutrition and help him get the most out of those fat-soluble vitamins. So maybe like a little drizzle of sesame oil, or topping his bowl off with some cashew nuts or sesame seeds. Again, I assume this was a deliberate choice based on his desired macros, but if we're talking general balanced diet, this would be my recommendation. I would also say I would way rather see the fats happening around this time of the day rather than after the first workout, just to help with protein and glucose absorption. Having said that, if we're still in like social isolation by the time this video comes out, then this would be a great easy meal option for those who hate cooking. I am a huge fan of stir fries in general because you can easily change up the protein, grains, veggies, and sauce and make it a completely different meal every night of the week. Simple, maybe not crazy inventive, but good by me. Let's take a look at day 2.
All right, so it is dinner time, and I'm sure to no one's surprise, we're making stir fry again.
And we're back with another stir fry. Okay, so even though John has switched things up a little bit and added some more variety to his meals in general, the tried and true stir fry remains his favorite dinner meal, which he claims to eat almost every day. And you know what? That is totally okay. I mean, if it works for him and it's something he consistently enjoys every single time, then why the heck not? I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The one thing I do want to point out is that I notice that John tends to use cooking spray all the time instead of any regular oil to grease his pan whenever he cooks. Now, I don't know if this is for convenience sake or again, if it's to save calories and fat macros, but many people do try to reduce calories in this way, as cooking sprays are believed to be a no-calorie option compared with regular high-calorie oil. However, this is not actually the case. It can be a bit confusing to interpret how many calories you're actually getting from using a cooking spray, as the calories are measured per 1/3 of a second of a spray. Also, if a portion size has less than 0.5 grams of fat, it can be rounded down to 0 grams. And if there's 0 grams of fat, apparently, that means there's 0 calories per serving. This is why food manufacturers make portion sizes so unrealistically teeny-weeny. In real life, you're not usually spraying for a fraction of a second. You're gonna go to like fully coat the pan, and maybe you're reapplying as you cook. So I would say for most people, a 2 to 5 second spray perhaps is actually far more realistic depending on the size of your cooking pan and what you're cooking. So if there's about 2.25 calories in 1/3 of a cooking spray, then if you spray for 5 seconds, that's 34 calories worth of oil. Still really negligible, and even in a lot of cases, the distribution of oil can still help you reduce your total intake compared to adding like a big glug in the pan. But I just wanted to share that little wee tidbit of information in case some of you out there think that non-stick spray is miraculously calorie-free. Let's take a look at some of his snacks.
And I'm going to end the night with the classic peanut butter jelly sandwich and some almond milk. So like I said in this video, this is nothing special, and again, like I said, I don't recommend that people eat this. This is just the way that I like to eat. Dealing with like people that are going to judge every single meal that I've shown, it just makes you not want to show it that much because again, it's like I know I don't make the best decisions at every single moment of my life, but at the same time, like I've been able to make progress even though maybe the decisions aren't the best.
Okay, so I totally see where John is coming from when he says he's been apprehensive about doing his full day of eating videos because he doesn't want to deal with people judging what he eats. Maybe he's specifically talking about me, but Like I said, I really do these videos not to shame people for their food choices, but because anyone who's putting content out there on the internet about wellness and health and diet has a lot of power to influence other people's beliefs and behaviors. We have a huge responsibility, even if we say, oh, but you don't have to eat that way. As for John, I like that his food choices aren't the best all the time, whatever he means by that. I actually think his choices are really, really amazing. And most importantly, they're definitely approachable, like he said. And despite the online haters, I do applaud John for being real and just eating what he likes, regardless of whether or not it's perfect. Eating doesn't ever have to be perfect or fit into a certain type of mold. You know, we really should not feel the need to eat in a way to always appease others. So thank you, John, for following the beat of your own drum and eating in a way that makes you feel satisfied. Now, in response to a snack, we got a classic PB&J, some almond milk. Again, I guess I was wrong on people drinking this by the glass. It is a real thing, so please do excuse my ignorance on that. But he also mentions at the end that he had an RX bar. In terms of his evening snacks, I don't think you can ever go wrong with a classic PB&J Sammy. It's a super easy way to get in some protein and healthy fats, and is something that I definitely rely on when I'm in a pinch. One thing to be mindful of when preparing peanut butter and jelly sandwiches is the products that you're using. Obviously, there are so many different nut butter varieties on the market, and I don't know what brand John is specifically using, but ideally you'd want to select a natural nut butter with nuts as like the only ingredient without any added salt, sugar, or hydrogenated oils. The same thing can be said for like jams and jellies because a lot of them have more sugar in them than they do actual fruit. I actually have a really super easy low sugar chia jam on my blog, which I'm going to leave in the description below. But if you're looking to buy one, you want to look for probably fruit preserves instead of jam or jelly because fruit preserves will have more actual fruit. Lastly, we don't actually see this, but he finishes his day with an RX bar. I am personally a huge fan of these bars as they've got basically 3 simple ingredients, egg whites, dates, and nuts. I can totally see why John would be down for that as an evening snack. Let's take a look at day 2.
Final meal of the night. Not really a meal, but this is just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It's nothing special, but I always like to have something sweet at the end of the night. So with this full day of eating, and I'm sure most of you guys that have been following for a while, that have watched a couple of these videos, you understand that with my full day of eatings, one, I'm definitely not saying you should try to eat exactly like me. I'm definitely not saying that this diet is perfect for everyone. What I am showing you is what I ate today. I honestly normally eat a little bit more today. I guess I wasn't that hungry, and that's kind of how I live my life is if I'm hungry, I eat. If I'm not, I don't, and I don't really follow any sort of plan or anything like that. I just kind of eat when I'm hungry.
John, aka Mr. Consistent, talks about ending his night off with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And really, I love his messaging here around eating when he's hungry and following his hunger cues. He admits that he just wasn't feeling too hungry this particular day, so he didn't eat as much as he usually would, and that is completely normal. You know, our hunger levels are influenced by so many different factors, including sleep, stress level, diet quality, exercise, medications, etc. So it's great to see that John is in tune with his body's needs and eating in a very intuitive way without feeling preoccupied with reaching a very specific caloric or macro goal. Okay, so now let's talk about my overall thoughts about John's What I Eat in a Day nutrition. So, not surprising for someone who takes such good care of his body, John's meals are very balanced as most of his meals have a nice combination of protein, carbohydrates, and healthy fats. He also stays true to his word and keeps his meals very simple and approachable while making sure he gets the nutrition that his body needs. Based on our nutrient analysis, John is getting somewhere between 3,000 and 3,700 calories, about 195 grams of protein, 3 to 90 grams of net carbs, and 136 grams of fat. Now that may sound like a lot, but for someone like John who works out twice a day, these amounts are actually totally normal and healthy. I will comment that he does obviously have a tendency to look heavily at the macronutrient profile of the foods he's eating and talk about very specific portions of some of his foods, like getting 200 grams of rice. He also eats pretty much the same thing every day, likely because he knows the macros and doesn't need to count or calculate something new. This is pretty common behavior in the fitness community, and for a lot of people, this isn't triggering at all. You know, the food is fuel for their workouts and is enjoyable enough not to be problematic. But for others, this level of preoccupation and inflexibility can be highly distressing. So I just want to flag that, John, I get what you're doing, but everyone else, this is not the only way to eat and reach your goals. At the end of the day, John seems to have established a bit of a routine of eating that is sustainable and simple to him and is something that he actually enjoys. I also appreciate that he's self-reflected on his diet and found ways to add more nutritive value to it by adding more variety to his meals while also preserving the meals that he just consistently enjoys eating every day. Now, in terms of suggestions, I would have liked to maybe see a little better meal spacing and more consistent post-workout nourishment, but I don't know if these were just kind of like an off day or a regular pattern for him, since we don't get a lot of insights into his daily diet with his videos. So in general, is this way of eating balanced? I think we've established that the answer to this question is yes. John's meals are consistently well balanced with a source of protein, carbohydrate, vegetables, and healthy fats. His meals are even more balanced now that he's made a commitment to add more fruit and veggies to his diet. So this dietitian is loving that. Our nutrient analysis also confirmed that he's meeting all the necessary nutrient requirements for someone his age, weight, and activity level, which he is obviously probably well aware of himself. Are there any problematic claims or assumptions made by this channel? As I've already mentioned, John steers clear of engaging in any sort of extreme diet culture rules and restrictions when it comes to food. Any talk of calories or nutrition is made kind of as a means to ensure that he has enough to satisfy his fitness needs. He even openly admits that he doesn't care so much about calories and repeatedly mentions that he doesn't focus too much on what is healthy, but rather eats what he likes, even if it is repetitive. Based on this point of view, John appears to have a pretty good relationship with food and a pretty healthy mindset when it comes to food and his body, particularly in light of his disordered eating past. Now, even though we don't explicitly hear John promote extreme weight loss measures or problematic behaviors in his What Night in a Day videos, he does bring up some controversial topics elsewhere on his channel, namely his thoughts on the health at every size movement and the body positivity movement. In many of his videos, he discusses his take on why HAES is dangerous, as he believes it normalizes morbid obesity and sends the wrong message that losing weight is impossible and people should just therefore accept themselves as they are. Now, I can understand why John would see the movement from this lens, as he was previously an obese person who was successful at losing a significant amount of weight and keeping it off. However, I do want to flag that the vast majority of people don't fall into this category, and we know that most people who set out to intentionally lose weight with restrictive dieting end up weight cycling, aka gaining and losing weight, which can actually be more detrimental to health than just maintaining their original weight. I will also say that a lot of people do not have the ability and capacity to work out 2 to 3 times a day like John, or maintain a very kind of simplified macro-focused diet. Having said that, the main message that John consistently delivers on his channel when it comes to weight loss is to do so in a healthy and sustainable way. He also completely discourages extreme behaviors like restrictive dieting and over-exercising as a means to reach weight loss goals, which I do appreciate him saying. In a lot of his videos, he does talk about how you can't lose weight from a place of I hate my body and expect those changes to last, which again, I can 100% agree with. I admire what John has been able to achieve for himself through his lifestyle changes and appreciate the balanced messaging that he provides for his viewers. John also does differentiate between being overweight and being morbidly obese. as in one video, he mentions that he does believe you can be overweight and metabolically healthy, which is actually supported by ample scientific evidence, but he also is concerned about glamorizing the extreme end of the spectrum, aka morbid obesity. Now, I do agree with John that this is murky territory because I can appreciate the potential health implications of being morbidly obese, while I can also appreciate the risks of weight cycling. So I see it as a bit of a risk-benefit analysis that is really unique to the individual. I myself have had to do a lot of research and just a lot of soul searching, and I've shared my updated thoughts on weight loss and HAES on my channel. So you can check that out right here if you want to know where I stand and how I support people's goals, no matter what they are. Now, while John might be really vocal about denouncing the body positive or fat acceptance movement, and I become a little bit more moderate or neutral in my views at this point on this, I do appreciate that when he does discuss influencers who promote HAES or body positivity, he does so in a relatively respectful way. In one video where he was discussing Sophie Hagen's Instagram post about celebrating World Obesity Day, he says that while he may not believe that celebrating obesity as a concept is healthy, he doesn't ever judge an individual or think negatively about the individual. Rather, he points out that he doesn't really think we should be celebrating a person for being obese, the same way that he doesn't think we should be celebrating a person for being fit. There are just more interesting and important attributes to a person other than the size of pants that they wear. I also like that he says that his weight loss didn't make him a better person than somebody who is still 600 pounds. Rather, the only thing that has changed was that he thinks he is now healthier. And that is awesome for him. I mean, I agree with all of that. I guess where I get a little turned off, hence why I'm bringing this all up to you guys, is that I find he does talk about obesity and others' experiences of obesity in a less than sensitive way, which I get is kind of his shtick. He's all about, why are we all being so offended by everything? But as an example, I've heard him say things like, eat yourself to death, which, yeah, seems pretty assumptive and insensitive. There isn't a whole lot of consideration for socioeconomic factors, mental health, medication, and other physical ailments. I mean, his assumption is just that someone is the size that they are solely for eating too much. And that may have been the case for him, I don't know, and it may be the case for a lot of other people. But I don't think that we can make assumptions about why or how someone is the size that they are. So I'm not saying that the information on his channel is problematic per se, but it may be stigmatizing and triggering and therefore problematic to a lot of my viewers. So that is what I'm here to flag. Now, are there any good takeaways from the Obese to Beast channel? Definitely. I think we can all take something away from his channel, especially when it comes to his philosophy around food and keeping things simple and sustainable. This is so key when it comes to eating. I mean, you can try every diet on the planet, but what it really comes down to is whether or not you enjoy it and if it's sustainable for you. We also see John's openness to switching up his routine and adding more value to his way of eating. I think it can definitely be very easy for some of us to kind of get stuck in a routine pattern of eating. So I am glad to see that we're able to kind of take this journey with him. I'm also a big lover of super simple food hacks and his no fuss approach to eating and cooking, which I definitely think is a really great takeaway for me personally. Bottom line, I really enjoyed John's content, and I think he's actually a really smart guy. I also enjoyed how real he is on his channel and his no-fuss positive attitude when it comes to food. While he's not a nutrition professional per se, he doesn't seem to promote any dangerous fad diets, and while I may not agree with all of his statements, I can fully respect his personal experience and his opinion. Well, folks, that is all for today's video. Thank you again to Audible for sponsoring this video. If you liked it, be sure to give it the thumbs up. Leave me a comment below with who you would like to see me review next. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye.